Finally, some actually good news. So IGN just handed us the plot of Sonic Frontiers, as well as many other details from their first impressions playing it, and it seems finally the community is seeing my viewpoint, and the opinion on Frontiers is changing a bit. Sonic Central gave us a couple crumbs to suckle on for about, 4 nanoseconds, but IGN is out here feeding the people. They even go into how Sonic Frontiers is controlling and playing, and this guy seems overall really positive. And remember, this is coming from somebody who's actually played the game. I know, an opinion with real significance, since literally every commentator, including me, hasn't played the game. So without any further ado, you know the drill. Like, sub, bell, all notifications, that's the most important part. Make sure that's set, and double check you're subbed, okay? Sometimes people are unsubbed, I know I'm asking a lot, but am I really though? Okay, so many thanks. Now, roll the intro. So IGN have been one of the first and only people outside of Sonic Team to play Sonic Frontiers, and they give us a lot to go over. From the plot, to how it plays, to the combat, to the first official mention of the cyberspace levels, and literally tons more. After the intro plays, he immediately dives into the basic plot synopsis, and that is, after flying into a wormhole with Tails and Amy, Sonic finds himself separated from his friends and all alone on an isolated island with nothing but an AI voice guiding him to collect the Chaos Emeralds. There's no one for Sonic to bounce quips off of, and no energetic Crush 40 soundtrack, just wide open fields as far as the eye can see. There's an air of mystery to Sonic Frontiers, and it's a vibe that's driven home even further by the beautiful yet minimalistic piano melodies that accompany Sonic as he explores the island. And just that small excerpt alone gives us a lot to go over. So exactly what's going on is part of a mystery, and I'm terrified of seeing spoilers once we get closer. But Sonic, Tails, and Amy were the ones flying, so all the people debating whether they heard Amy or Tails, you both win. Good ending. We also know Knuckles has some involvement, as we saw him in the 13 nanosecond reveal of the Sonic Frontiers prologue. We saw him in the Master Emerald when some red flash shows up. Probably related to this AI, which prediction right now, the AI is the good guy, he's trying to help Sonic. Also, I assume the AI is the Ghost Girl thing, and there's some evil power that they have to fight against. They were actually trying to bring Sonic to the island for his help. It was all a big call for help. We don't know what leads up to this, but after the crash, it seems like a big part of the game is unfolding that mystery. So I don't think they'll cover any of that pre-release, or at least not much. They're gonna give us little glimpses, but here's hoping Sega does not fumble the bag. I assume Knuckles isn't in the actual game itself, or at least the gameplay side, but with some threat coming for the Master Emerald, and the plot saying Sonic has to get the Chaos Emeralds, combined with us seeing these little Chow Rock things, I don't know, something fishy's going on. Also, that leak from January 2021 getting confirmed comes with some downsides too. We've now seen Sonic take down multiple Titans, and he hasn't gone supersonic once. Meaning, the part where he says what he thought he was seeing was the final boss fight might have really been that. He said it was some giant, massive tree thing. I'll read through it since many of you likely haven't even read it before, then go into how it's possible this isn't the final boss, but after brushing up on it, I'm not so sure. Now for the final, I think, boss. After gathering all the emeralds, you can then cut through a thick fog you couldn't before in the open world. A gigantic tree robot thing is the boss. Fly around it as Supersonic, utilizing Spin Cycle and other abilities, mainly mashing buttons. You can't take damage and are on a timer of rings. A Ghost Girl refills your ring count multiple times, and the demo ended after defeating the boss. And keep in mind, this was posted in January 2021. 5 months before the reveal. Many people don't remember that because, I don't know. I think something else might have happened on that day. Something big, but it's on the tip of my tongue. Nothing's really ringing a bell right now. Now, since they were focus testing, it's also possible they were specifically testing how fun going supersonic and taking down a Titan is, assuming that's something possible post-game. But, If not, then yeah, that really was the final boss. Especially with the fog cutting and a new area being revealed. I mean, maybe a sub-boss, but of all the levels from the focus test, they really chose the final boss, huh? Sega, why? We also know from that short excerpt that, sorry adventure fans, no Crush 40. To be fair, those type of songs definitely wouldn't fit the serenic, beautiful nature of this open world. But, and granted, we still haven't seen anything of it, but if the currently untitled Cyberspace sections are more traditional boost-themed levels, I was hoping that would be the section for some of these bangers. And maybe there are some bangers, but they won't be Crush 40 bangers. I, however, also love the prettier, soft, and more cinematic Sonic sounds. So I am very hyped to have this soundtrack at my disposal to use in videos and throw on the background while working. The IGN writer got to speak to Takashi Iizuka, aka the only permitted speaker. And he describes Frontier's tone with, past games in the Sonic series have taken different tones depending on their story and themes. This time, these mysterious islands are the game's major setting. That's why our artists have worked hard to create a mysterious mood. Yeah, it's mysterious, alright. The great mystery of where are the assets? Iizuka also talks about the open world. He reiterates the open zone thing we've heard before, but adds an interesting new twist to it. Quote, open world games like Zelda and other AAA games fundamentally have RPG or adventure worlds, said Iizuka-san. For Sonic, the core here is a 3D action game. Our basic idea was to have that take place in an open space. What sets Sonic Frontiers apart is this different approach to an open game world. Now, this will probably surprise a lot of people because every conversation so far has been,
this is the Breath of the Wild Sonic! Breath of the Wild Sonic!
Yes, its aesthetics and the fact that they're both open are similar, but Breath of the Wild is an RPG with a slow pace and focusing on item management and inventory. And Sonic Frontiers is not going to play like that. If you're imagining this to be like a faster Skyrim, you're out of luck, bucko. The IGN reviewer, who's named Mitchell, and I'll start calling him that to make it less confusing, but Mitchell says he got to play through it for about 4 hours, and that he sees exactly what Iizuka-san means. He says it's different from every other open world game he's played and how it feels like a big playground. And guys, he's literally saying exactly what I said in my video a bit back. Even to the point of this isn't Sonic placed in another open world game, but a true to the core Sonic game, now without restrictions. And even the movement reminding me of Sunset Overdrive, traversing this vast world quickly in a fluid way. I'll read his quote because it's exactly how I've been picturing this, and I'm now feeling more hopeful than ever. So quote, every few feet there's a bumper spring that bounces you like a pinball between 5 other bumpers, putting you on one of the many grindable rail tracks. Or a speed ramp that sets you on a completely different path, leading to some other collectible or reward. Or a line of rings that you can lightspeed dash into. Essentially, they've taken that core appeal of every Sonic level having multiple paths that eventually loop back around to the main one, and applied that to these giant non-linear open zones. And another comparison, granted it'll seem weird since it's not a giant open world, is Tony Hawk. Tony Hawk's Underground in particular had these larger levels with quests everywhere, and you could essentially move through the map without even touching the ground once you got good enough. And Sonic Frontiers is giving me these same vibes. So instead of practicing certain acts, you can practice certain zones on the map and learn them by memory so you can get around quicker and quicker and do more challenges. Now, he also acknowledges a big criticism that everyone is having, which is the game elements not having architecture around them, so they just feel out of place. While not a game breaker for me, this is something I agree with. It definitely takes you out of the immersion a bit and comes off as a bit lazy. So Mitchell says, one thing that has to be noted is that very few of these elements are built into the environmental design, meaning that rails, platforms, boost rings, and so on are just inexplicably floating in the air all around, which isn't too unusual for a Sonic game, but it feels especially jarring in Frontiers in particular because of the frequent and sudden pop-in of these objects and otherwise very naturalistic art style. Of course, it's worth emphasizing that this gameplay and the version I played were from an early build, but this is definitely an area that I'd hope to see improvement in the final version. And that leads to another thing people were freaking out about for some reason? Yeah, obviously it's an early build of the game. It's literally months away from release. It's 100% not done. I've only seen a very small amount of people claim that this is a finished game, but y'all are wilding.
Why would they show it off if it's not finished?
And there's so many factors, it blows my mind people aren't thinking about this. One, they have to make a stable enough build to film, edit, and send off for approval, and that takes time. Obviously, it's not a build from that day. I mean, come on. What do you guys want them to do? To continue to not show off any gameplay and wait until the month of release when it's totally finished? Or show you final gameplay that they acquired from traveling to the future? Now, he goes into the puzzles, and it does appear that they're not going to be that hard. Now, obviously, they aren't going to make you fill out a Sudoku puzzle to continue moving, but Mitchell says there are also a wide variety of puzzles and challenges that are littered throughout the zone, and completing them is how you uncover sections of your map. Most of them are very simple, requiring you to orient a statue the correct way, quickly hop back and forth between colored tiles, or use Sonic's new side loop ability. Side loop? What? To draw circles around certain objects in the environment to interact with them. The best ones, though, are races against the clock, where you have to get from point A to point B in a limited amount of time. The openness of Frontier's level design makes straightforward races like these a ton of fun, because you have to try and improvise a path to the end that might not be immediately obvious. And I'm thinking most of these challenges and quests aren't going to be physical things you see, so it makes sense that there is a ton we haven't seen in our level walkthrough. I think racing and having it be so close that you have to learn alternative routes and get perfect with your run sounds incredibly fun, that rhymes, and replayable to me. I think the puzzles are going to be whatever, mostly filler. I assume some will be fun, and the rest will be whatever.
That's what the kids call epic fail.
Although it seems these don't take away from the actual gameplay too much. So, hoping there's a lot of challenges and fun game dynamics, and not a ton of puzzles that don't really integrate with the core gameplay design. He goes into the combat next, and what I've been hearing is wild. Many people are saying the combat looks too samey and repetitive, but how? Sonic normally just mashes homing attack and boost. There have been over 6 different combat moves we've seen so far. This is clearly a more intricate system than we've ever seen as Sonic. It's way faster than the Sonic Unleashed combat, with this also being more streamlined and a bit harder to cheese. What's also interesting is he says Sonic is able to dodge by using the bumper buttons, which reminds me of Dark Souls. And before you guys say it, I'm aware Breath of the Wild also has dodging. Please, find a new comparison. He also says that when you press both bumper buttons together and time it out right, you can counter enemy attacks with a parry like in many of those other game comparisons. No, I'm not going to say them. He still has his traditional homing attack, but you now stick to the enemy a bit more and can punch and kick and carry out these different combos. It reminds me a lot of how Knuckles attacks in Sonic Heroes, and even Sonic to a lesser degree. What relieves me the most, and was my biggest worry about repetition, is Mitchell saying, "One of the things I really appreciated about the combat from what I played is that there are usually multiple ways to deal with specific enemies. One enemy has an impenetrable shield that he can expand into spinning blades to throw at you. One way to deal with him is to just carefully time your homing attacks so you don't get hit by the blades. But the window to damage him is small. To increase that window, you can either parry the blades or knock them away right before they hit you. You can even use Sonic's side loop to encircle the enemy, which will cause the shell to go flying upwards. Defeating these enemies will reward you with EXP that you can use to purchase new skills from a skill tree, which gives Sonic Frontiers a really nice feeling of power progression. Even in just the relatively short amount of time I played, some of the later skills you get are just unbelievably cool, though I won't spoil them here. And it's super satisfying to see Sonic Team experiment with different ways that Sonic can attack enemies beyond just spins, jumps, and bumps. I don't know why, I love how spins, jumps, and bumps sounds. Also, even the enemy XP is for the skill tree. Literally every analyzation and prediction I've made about Frontiers has been right. God dang, my video is aging well. Take that, low like to dislike percent. But I am really interested in seeing what all these moves you can unlock are, as it sounds like even with his 4 hours of playing, he was able to get some really cool stuff. I'm interested in seeing specifically what all these new experimental attacks they've been making for Sonic are. And, More importantly, if there are any like the Drop Dash that will become must-haves for the franchise going forward. Only time and fan reception will tell you that though. Now, let's go into the bosses, aka the Titans. Now remember, Titan is not the official term, same with Cyberspace. These are just the terms we've given them based on appearance. And I know you shouldn't give people terms based on appearance, but guys, these Sonic levels and bosses, they're not people. The Sonic bosses aren't real, they can't hurt you. Also, at the end of the day, Sonic Team could really just call them like Glamorphians or any other random amalgamation of sounds. So when they do announce the name, I don't want to hear you guys being like, it's not Titan, it's not Cyberspace. Yeah, it's not gonna be. But these bosses will be some of the biggest and most intense bosses we've ever had. Sorry to the pride flag of brightly colored Eggman mechs. They're all about like 85% the same. There's a lot to cover with these all new boss fights, and apparently they're still on the rougher side. From some design issues to general bugginess, Mitchell says, it's an ambitious boss battle, far beyond anything I've seen in the Sonic series to date, but it's also the part of the game that needs the most work. Far too often, I'd fly off the boss's arm without knowing why, or I'd get to the top and for some reason lack the momentum I needed to actually reach the head. And part of this sounds like a skill issue. And I mean, this is IGN we're talking about. And I know everyone's about to get mad at that and say,
Copium!
But I kid. I accept flaws and I want them to fix these. I want the best game possible, and I assume you guys do too. Regardless of the fact that I might get more views if this game fails. Also, he mentions lacking momentum to get to the top, but I thought this game didn't have momentum. Like I said, there is some momentum with Sonic's movement. Give me a second, I have to go place this in my ginormous trophy case of W's. And this is the best part. He goes into a tiny bit of the Cyberspace levels, and just from that alone, there's so much to go over. I'll just read it. Sonic must hunt down and defeat these bosses in order to collect portal gears. Sonic must hunt down and defeat these bosses in order to collect portal gears, which open up portals that lead to bite-sized linear stages. Done in the style of previous Sonic games, giving Sonic Frontiers a nice mix of both old and new styles. These classic levels each come with a handful of optional goals, like beating the level under a certain time, collecting all the red rings, and so on, with each goal rewarding you with a vault key, which are needed to unlock the coveted Chaos Emeralds. And I am so hyped! Generations was supposed to be something for everyone, and TBH, it failed at being a great classic Sonic game. Let's be totally real. Mania was definitely better at that. So it seems like they've abandoned trying to please both of these groups, and instead are working on truly bringing Sonic forward to the future in the world of 3D. And with these being bite-sized levels, and Forces also being bite-sized, it's literally like they made a second Forces as a tacked-on side game to this enormous endeavor. I'll read his closing statement as there's a lot I want to talk about, and I think he does an awesome job keeping expectations tame while not throwing this in the trash at all. He says, Sonic Frontiers is an exciting new step forward for the Sonic series into uncharted territory, and based on my time with it, Sonic Team seems to have hit upon a winning formula. There's certainly still work to be done before it's released during the holiday season. There's a lot of distracting pop-in, there's a fair amount of bugs still left to be squashed, and the big boss fights could do a little tweaking. But ultimately my time with this early build answered the one question that I had on my mind. Will Sonic's one-of-a-kind gameplay translate into an open world? The answer is a resounding absolutely. This game is not finished, and if the biggest issues are technically based, no, not like based in that way, I mean just on a technical scale, and they can fix those, and if they can fix those, I'm gonna be hyped. Even the issues that bother other people, like a couple animations, and the rails being ugly, are both things I can look past if the game is fun and not a buggy wreck. The only good buggy wreck is Drake and Josh. Also, I want to quickly tack on, I've seen some people say,
they're sponsored, you can't trust what they say.
But they are free to give criticisms, and IGN, while not the best, doesn't do those kind of deals. Their first impressions are genuine, and the only restrictions they have is the footage they're allowed to use. Opinions are all fair game. Just want to make sure that was clear to you guys. That's all for today. I'm streaming SummerGameFest live tomorrow. Super busy boyo. Follow on Twitter @Sonic_show. I post too much there and spend way too much time there. If there is news, I'll always tweet it out first, as making videos in a quality I find acceptable, it takes a bit of time. Thanks for all the love and support. Raccoon Nation is constantly growing. Lots of love to you all, and a peaceful night to you as well. Peace!